There's a fatigue which has come in. Nobody wants to discuss it. Even at seminars and conferences, Afghanistan has just fallen off the map. Everybody's talking about the Ukrainian conflict or Central Asia, but this has really fallen off the high table. Is a regional solution possible? Everybody in this area has a different solution to Afghanistan.
I agree very much so that the Western interest has sort of diminished. And I think for many people inside the country, the expectation now is to see Muslim majority countries to stand up and to speak up for the people. That this is not Islamic. What you're doing to the people of Afghanistan, whether it's on education, on work, on compulsory hijab, on all these sort of every aspect of a person's life, this is not what Islam teaches.
Just have a question back. So, which country do you see to lead this? When you was talking about Muslim countries needs to stood up and say, so whom do you see in that?
Qatar, for example, it's
all of OIC, I would think.
Of course, all of Central
why
Asia.
doesn't OIC step in?
Yeah.
Why always look towards the EU or towards America? Why not? There are rich countries in the Organization of Islamic Countries, so why
Absolutely.
not?
I don't think it's a good idea to make it as a religion problem, or to say that those countries who have the same religion should take more care about it or not.
I'm not saying that Muslim countries need to care more than the rest of the world. I'm saying we share the values more closely with the Muslim countries. And more importantly, the Taliban are introducing laws based on Sharia law. There needs to be more clarity and engagement with the Taliban to make it clear that this is not Islamic in any way and form.
Unless you stop terrorism in a country, nothing else works. So America kept using Pakistan as the front line on fighting terror. And by doing that, you made Afghanistan fall more and more into the abyss. It was like wearing blinkers all the time. Why didn't the Americans realize that this slide is going to happen?
We don't know the threat that Pakistan poses to Afghanistan. So we were there in the military. There's American blood on hands of the people that you're referring to. So we are very well aware of how much the sort of activities that happen from Pakistan over to Afghanistan. Pakistan is an interesting and increasingly perhaps rapidly going through a failed state because of the inherent inconsistencies within its governing system. So the internal system and durations of Pakistan are such that the idea that somehow we or anybody else can force Pakistan to sort of abide by one way or the other, it's not possible. Even the army cannot do it. The issue being, yes, Pakistan remains a source of instability in Afghanistan. You and I may differ as to how well Pakistan is able to it has an ebbs and flow in it, and certainly when we were there, you had a little bit of a control, but now that's fallen apart. And even Taliban and Pakistan is having a increasingly sort of fractured relationship even today. But I think a bigger issue is to refer back to what can we do. I mean, we can cut this 17 different ways. But the realistic one, so I both agree with Shabnam, and I think it's really people like yourself who will keep the call going, because the rest of us have moved on to Indo-Pacific and FOIP and Ukraine.
Yeah. Younes, what about the refugees, who are there in Germany? What about their cultural integration? Is it complete?
The question is, who is coming to Germany, kind of refugees? So I've co-founded with some friends of mine an online digitalization university where especially people from Afghanistan who came to Germany, who doesn't have any documents, any papers, if they have any degrees or not degree, just to study online, just to be there for 2 years, to study online, to collect their credits, to reach a bachelor degree. After the 2 years, we can see what the German government is saying, if they can stay or not staying, not to losing their time, to use the time, to be integrated, to be educated. This is the thing what we can do, and I think that we have many Afghans, as I say, the biggest community in Europe is Germany. We have over 400,000 Afghans in Germany, and I think there are many people of them integrated, so there is always a way if they are willing.
EU itself has, I think, since 2016 given some $5 billion, right? So the European way of doing things is here, take the money.
This is not maybe the right way, and it's also not take the money. Over 45 nations have been taken care of for years and years and years. What's the result?
The result? The last 20 years was the result. There was more girls in school than any other time. There was a change in political system. More women were in parliament. There were introductions around human rights across the country.
The Indian National Security Advisor said that there needs to evolve a mechanism where there's intelligence and security cooperation on Afghanistan to set aside differences that you may have about what Afghanistan needs, what Afghanistan wants, to bring about first peace and security.
Largely the impact on the security thing would be to contain the security threats from Afghanistan in the region. So that would be, and that's what particularly, India has a point of view, but certainly Pakistan and Iran and Central Asia has it. And that's why Central Asia is not taking refugees and taking a pretty strong line. So that's that perspective. And I think sharing of information, that's all that's happening. I've never ever served in a country where I was more impressed by the women than I was in Afghanistan. If you ask a question in an interview, where do you see yourself 5 or 10 years of a man and a woman in Afghanistan, a woman would invariably say, Prime Minister or President of Afghanistan. So the greatest loss we've had really is of Afghan women. Now, having said that, the greatest legacy that America and NATO left in Afghanistan was really the aspirations of its young people. And so we hope that through that comes the new Afghanistan, and whenever that is, we'll be ready to sort of help and move it forward. But at this moment, realistically, the security threat will be to look at and say, hey, nothing comes out. But the humanitarian issue is within it. And that we'll just do as best as we can through proxies, the UN and other international, till we get to another spot.
Click here to watch the full episode.